Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Pickleball and Politics, where I combine my quest to stay out of the kitchen with my passion for politics. So, as you know, I start every episode, most episodes, with a little bit of pickleball. So I played pickleball yesterday and had text with my core of the 7 people. There are 8 of us. There are 2 courts where we play. We usually rotate in and out. Winners, losers, back and forth. Switch sides. Who'd you play with last? No problem. 3-4 people showed up who I don't normally play with. And they were hoping that they could play. And so we said, sure, because this way we do get a little break. Well, they were really, really good. And I was playing great with my regular 8 people, my 7 people, the 8 of us, before they arrived. And once I started getting switched into their rotation, at one point I was playing with 3 of them, and they were really, really good. And man, I stunk. And I started to get very, very in my head and letting it get to me. And I was playing good, like I said, before they got there. And afterwards, I just stunk. It's that simple. So my question is, for those of you out there who play pickleball, if you're playing with people who are much, much better than you, do you start to feel inferior? Because I really, really did. I started to feel very inadequate playing with them, and I didn't really enjoy it. So that's what I have to say about that. So another week, another rally. I found myself this week in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, to see President Donald Trump yet again. My 5th time or 4th time seeing him. I have to check in my head. The first time I saw the president, it was 2015 in a high school auditorium in Winnicott High in Hampton, New Hampshire. And there had to have been 5,000 people outside. And I remember getting there really, really early. Like, he was coming on at 7 and I was there at like 2 in the afternoon. And I barely got in that day. And I was like, thank God I came early. Thank God I came early. That was my first experience at a Trump rally. I didn't know it was going to be as crazy as it was back in 2015, but it was. But I saw him and it was great. Fast forward, it's 2023. It's now 8 years later. So it was 2+ hours away from me. I got up at 4. I left the house at 5. Was smart enough to pack some food because I knew what was going to happen. Got there right at 7 when they were opening the parking lot. And honest to God, if I had arrived 10 minutes later, I never would have gotten into the auditorium that day. I thought the arena was way too small and got a lot of conflict. One website says it holds 500 and another 1,200. I know what 1,200 people look like. There was not 1,200 people there. There is no way. I'm thinking the auditorium held 500. It said 12 on the Trump website, and it said 1,200 on other publications I've seen since. But the auditorium's website said 500. And I'm going with 500 because I kind of know what 500 people look like. As I said, if I had gotten there 10 minutes later, I never would have gotten in, period. So I park my car where I'm told to, get in line where I'm told to, and stood outside for the next 4 hours. Yeah, 4 hours. It was a little chilly. I wasn't dressed properly, though I was dressed for fall, but I wasn't quite dressed for 43 degrees. I was dressed for like 53 degrees. Anyway, so I got a little cold. You had to keep on moving around. And what you do in line when you're waiting for 4 hours is at Trump rally is you talk to the people around you. Now, the guy in front of me, he didn't want to talk to anybody. He didn't talk to a soul. Okay. I had 2 women behind me and talked to them for the majority of the time. They were a little bit older, and I was disappointed talking to them for 4 hours because they only know what Fox News tells them to think, to know. They are Trump supporters. They plan on voting for Trump again. But they also said they liked Chris Christie. Now, anybody who tells me they're a Trump supporter and then says they like Chris Christie, my senses go up just a little bit, because I can't imagine anybody voting for Chris Christie. I just can't. I don't know who's funding him, who's telling him he has a chance. I think he's a deep state operative. There, I said it. And I was a little disappointed in basically how unaware so many people are and how much the current administration hates them. That's how I feel. I feel this administration just hates the average American. You just have to look at the way they're flooding the border with millions of illegals now to know they're really not worried about us. And that's how I feel. So I talked to those women for a while, and then luckily the people behind them chimed in. And finally, somebody who got it. It was a retired couple that lives off the grid 7-8 months a year. They live in a little cabin in New Hampshire during the summer. Then they get in their RV for the rest of the year, and they go all around the country. They do. And they're basically off the grid, living from trailer, mobile park to RV park all around the country. They head down south. They go to Virginia, to Florida. They head over to Texas. They come up the other way, and they eventually make themselves back to New Hampshire like in May or so. And that was pretty interesting, of how they pay their bills and how they live their life and set up and supplies, and they got it. They're ready to live completely off the grid in their RV anywhere they have to. But they said they didn't know if they could do this forever. And they probably can't, because I can't imagine you can be doing that as you get a little older. Okay, it was a little, just hearing people talk and stuff, it was a little sad that I thought some people were there mainly because it was the event, in the area. It was way up in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire. Not a lot going on this time of year, and it was something to do. And some people think that they're contributing to this war we're in if they buy a t-shirt. And that was a little disappointing to me. I'm not sure that they know what's at stake with this next election. Okay, so once again, if you know, when I went to Turning Point and when I saw Trump in March, Secret Service is completely sabotaging the Trump supporter. They couldn't go any slower. Honestly, they picked up one thing after another from my bag and looked at it like it could be a pen. What is that? Oh, let me see. Oh, you have two. Oh, interesting. That's how slow they were going. Okay? A little slow. What can I say? 1 minute. They seem to want to make us as uncomfortable and wait as long as possible. I've seen them do that twice before. They did it at Turning Point in July, and they did it last March, and then we were pouring rain. They were slow as molasses. I do have one major complaint, and that was Trump also has his own private security that he brings in for events, and they're kind of watching the crowd in a different way, making sure all the seats are filled in. And they were really, really, really aggressive with these Trump supporters. Anybody who, when they were telling people to move, to go in this line here, this line there, hurry up, slow down, everything. If anybody took out their camera, they started yelling at them. Do not take my picture. They're all jacked up. They all look ex-military. I would imagine they were all special forces or in the service, some type. And they were very aggressive, yelling at folks and a little intimidating. And I've seen them at events before, and they were fine. They were firm but pleasant. I would say this group that was sent was a little nasty. That's how I felt. I thought they were overly aggressive. These are Trump supporters, and they were sort of nasty, and they are being paid by Trump, and I didn't like what they did. Anyways, I did get in. Like I said, if I was 10 minutes later, I don't think I would have gotten in. Sat down at 11 o'clock. It started the pledge prayer, and then we said the national anthem. Then Senator Smith came out. I think his first name's Robert or Bob Smith. He talked about Trump, how much he dislikes Romney, who has a summer home up there in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, on Lake Winnipesaukee. That he said he's seen them all since Ronald Reagan, and this guy, Trump, is the only one that can stop bad things from happening to us. So he was full 100% behind Donald Trump, and didn't have anything nice to say about Mitt Romney, I will say that. So then Macho Man played a few other songs. Exactly 12 o'clock, it's I'm Proud to Be an American started, and out the president came to thunderous applause, and he thanked everybody who was on stage, all dignitaries and VIPs, and a few U.S. representatives who were in the front row, and different people. Now, I told you, or maybe I didn't, that I'm going to do this in 2 parts. So I'm already over 10 minutes into this, and I got a lot more to say. So I'm going to do this in 2 parts, okay? So you don't feel like you got to watch it all at once. So as you know, you can reach me on Getter or on Instagram at Pickleball and Politics. You can reach me on Twitter at Pickle and Paul. You can go to my website, pickleballandpolitics.com, or my YouTube channel, Pickleball and Politics. So I'm going to do this in 2 parts. So look for Trump in Wolfeboro, part 2. All right. Until I see you after I do part 2, I'll see you right now. I'm going to see it. So when you stop this, go to part 2. Okay. I'll see you in a minute on Pickleball and Politics.